Welcome to my worst date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina.
What if I just did it in a different accent every time?
Just the opening or the whole show?
No, just the opening.
Oh, okay. I was like, the opening. Yeah, great. Please. I will be very excited.
Don't continue that.
I used to play around like that when I was waiting tables, but me and you know how terrible I am in accents.
So everybody at the table is like, wait, where is she from?
What's happening?
I've never heard the accent before. What is that?
Where do you think she's from? But yeah, it would be like, oi, my name's Celeste.
No.
I'll be taking care of you today.
Is that supposed to be Australian?
3 accents.
Yeah.
That was 3. It started out like kind of British, right?
Yeah.
Oi.
And then like
Oi,
an Australian
I'm
situation.
Celeste. I'll be taking care of you today,
And then
which
it
was
went
Southern.
Yeah.
And then Australian.
It was,
Just sometimes I would just get so bored.
out of curiosity, what were you going for?
I was going Australian.
Okay. I am glad I picked up on that. But also, Australian's like the hardest one. Why would you go with the hardest one?
I have no idea. I'm terrible at
You
accents.
just go British. British
She
is
just walks
easier.
out wallaby, kangaroo, shrimp on the bobby,
You can do a Boston. You just like pack the car in Harvard, yeah.
the car in Harvard, yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. I'm so bad at accents. So terrible at them. But yeah, it used to entertain me. So, whatever.
Our tables were like, what in the fuck is going on?
I don't even feel like I'm that bad at accents, but I don't believe in myself enough to follow through. I tried to do it one time when I was at like a grocery store, or not a grocery store. I was like shopping at a store in the mall, and I was like, I'm going to see if I can like pull off this accent. And I just don't believe in myself enough. So I give up like halfway through, and I'm like, no, they know.
Okay,
I'm like,
wait.
they know.
Wait, you're a theater kid. Mm-hmm. When you went out with your theater kid friends, did this ever happen when you were at the restaurant? We always had at least one person who pretended they were blind or pretended they were like someone like, you know what I'm saying? Like pretended they were like, it was like, this is a dinner. We don't have to act our way through it.
Awkward
Yes.
shame receipts
Oh, God.
that I have that took place in a Denny's after 10 p.m.
Yeah, after a show.
Drinking coffee, thinking we were the shit. And I'm like, that poor fucking waitress.
You left on your theater makeup. That was always the thing.
Oh, man, they knew too.
You leave on your theater makeup. You're loud as hell. I mean, we would make up scenarios. Like we would make up we're from out of town on like we're a lacrosse team or
singing, so much singing in public.
So much singing in public, annoying everybody in that place.
And they're like, we saw you here last week.
Yeah, we know. This town is not that big.
Keegan, they're like, you're the only black girl that lives
Literally.
here.
They're like, no, honey, you're very distinctive. We remember you.
We know who you are.
You're not from Ireland. Stop it. Like, fuck. Okay.
Oh man.
I think I thought about doing that sometimes on dates that I wasn't really like into, like making up wild backstories or something.
Through the date, you're like halfway through the fucking date, and all of a sudden you just switch accents.
Oi, I'm Celeste, and they're like, "What?"
Also, why are you starting it with "oi"? Like we were in the middle of a conversation. I don't understand. No,
She can't start the conversation. Wallaby, kangaroo.
Getting into character.
Yeah.
No, I just want to know I'm capable of it. I don't know why. Like, I think that in the 90s, there were just too many movies where, like, somebody would be part of the CIA, right? Yeah. And they would, like,
switch
kind of
into character.
Alias, right? Like Jennifer Garner and Alias. And I was just like, I just want to know that I'm capable of doing this if I wanted to. Could I be a completely different person? And the answer is only yes if it's late and I'm in a bar and I've had a few drinks and a man is hitting on me.
There you go.
I can be whoever.
Exactly.
I will lie to that man. Definitely.
100%.
About my entire backstory and my name.
Yep. I've definitely, I think I've given Oscar-worthy performances in that same situation for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Speaking of shame receipts. So I posted a TikTok today because I was in the shower and for some reason the song Manic Monday was stuck in my head. I have no clue. Don't know where I heard it. Don't know where it came from. And it just triggered this memory of me when I was like a kid. I was young. I had to be like 10 or 11 ish. And I don't even know who this kid was. He was visiting with one of my parents' friends or something. We were up in my room listening to records. I had like a ton of albums, and I was that kid who was like, I'm just like super into like the Doors and like the Beatles and like super into that.
We all like the other girls ourselves. Back then.
100.
Sure, yeah.
That's the reason why I got into grunge was to impress a boy.
That's wild.
Yeah.
See, I was super into grunge, and actually it was a girlfriend of mine who got me into, because she was like older in high school and I was like in junior high, and she was like, you gotta check out this band REM.
I wanted to be not like the other girls, you know, and I was just
the thing is, like, the thing that I feel like was not allowed us when we were younger, and I feel like young people probably still feel this way, is like you have to pick an aesthetic, and that has to be your thing. And that, like,
so true.
The truth is we contain multitudes, and I can like one kind of music and another kind of music. Like,
right.
That's fine. Sometimes I like pop music when I'm just like getting ready and putting my makeup on, but I also like grunge music.
The amount of times I would reinvent myself as a kid. I would rearrange my room, and then it was like
you're a whole new person.
Life.
Yeah.
New life, new person. I don't know who that old Christina was. But this is the Christina with the bed over here.
And also, don't call me Christina anymore. My name's Sunny. Sunshine, summer.
Yes.
You know, I never changed my name. That is one thing where I would change everything. And especially because I moved quite a bit. Every time I moved to a new place, I was a new person.
Oh,
every time. Like,
man, the number of times I wanted to move so I could reinvent myself.
And
we never did.
Stuck,
I was like, God damn it.
It never sticks, because you are who you are. At your core. You can change the way you dress, but
so my story was that I literally had this album, which was the Bangles, and it was in a constant rotation. I'm not gonna lie, but in my mind I had made it like, oh, the Bangles are so passé now. Like, nobody listens to Bangles. It's so stupid, right? And so when this kid noticed my Bangles, I was like, oh, that's dumb. I don't even like them.
I don't even know how that got in here. Actually,
weird. Is that still here? Shit.
Oh. I liked them like 3 years ago when I was into like baby shit.
Yeah.
I'm grown now.
I don't even have dolls anymore.
You're kicking your doll under the bed.
Don't touch my closet door.
It's like you can
just
see
stuffies.
One doll hand underneath.
You're right. And yeah, so the kid guy was like, oh, I like the Bangles. And I was like, well, you should have it then,
because you can't backtrack now.
No, I can't. I've already committed to that's dumb and I don't like them. And he was like, no, they're great. And I was like,
I love that he's just like, no, I like them. I like what I like, and I like the Bangles.
And
where's that kid now?
And my spineless ass was like, well, then you should have this album. And my parents were like, you're giving him your Bangles album? Yeah, why wouldn't I? It's so dumb.
The one you've been listening to on repeat for
shut up, Mom. I don't even like that. It's only because it accidentally stuck on there. I don't know.
I don't know.
Jeez.
I'm trying to think of like other things that I might have like pretended to like or not to like for a boy.
So much. I don't know that I can think of specifics. Definitely
GoldenEye. That comes to mind.
The game.
Yes.
Yeah, caring about watching people play video games. I definitely pretended to be like, I'm very cool with this. When I was like, I don't.
2 hours of watching someone play like Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Man.
Oh my God.
Oh, and you know what? It was the early 2000s for me, or like the mid 2000s for me. And so it was watching boys play Grand Theft Auto and having to be like, I'm totally fine and not at all concerned with the fact that you seem to be taking a lot of pleasure in like
beating up
people in this game.
Yeah.
And watching a lot
Gran Turismo.
A lot of Grand Theft Auto.
Wrestling was big when I was in high school. That got really, really big. I think that was like when The Rock first got famous, and like Triple X and stuff like that.
Oh my God.
And so
I really was, because my babysitter was into it. So I was into it.
No, like all the boys at the summer camp were like super, super into it. That and Magic the Gathering. Oh. And so those are things that I pretended to be into.
Magic.
Like, oh no.
Yeah, I didn't ever really pretend to be into those things, but a lot of the people I hung out with, definitely it was like video games, Magic the Gathering. no shade on any of that stuff. And I didn't really pretend to be into it, but did I, without any complaint, like just stick around like a groupie all night?
Yes.
Like lounging on couches, watching other people play Magic the Gathering. Why? Like, what am I doing? I don't want to be here.
I mean, but what else were you doing?
Truly.
Yeah,
you know,
honestly.
Probably someone drove me there and I couldn't have left anyway.
Yeah, you're just like, hanging out with people.
Yeah, but I don't really know. I definitely know that I pretended to care a lot more about certain movies and certain pieces of like
pop culture
more than I did. Even if I enjoyed them, like actually, the first time I saw the movie Fight Club, I liked the movie Fight Club. Did I like it to the degree that and American Psycho, right? Like, did I like those to the degree that I pretended to like them for other people?
Yeah, it's true.
I didn't. Like, I wasn't just like, this is my favorite thing of all time. Yeah. But I might have said that.
There was and I love sports, and you know that I love sports, and I am the person who would totally have a sports center on to go to sleep to and not think about it. But there were times where I'm like, I would literally watch a full baseball game that I really wasn't into, that I was just to be impressive.
Oh,
yeah.
Not like the other girls.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I'm so into sports, which is partially true. So like, but if it's
true enough to be believable,
that's
in that
right.
moment.
But I mean, like, it's like one of those things that's like, if it's part of your identity, you have to, it's like live and die within the identity, you know, like it has to be everything you breathe, live, you know.
Oh, it's like wearing a band shirt and they're like, name 3 songs right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and you're like, and that kind of thing would have made me so anxious as a like younger woman or a teenager, because I'd be like, oh my God, they're gonna think I'm a poser. Also, I grew up at the time of posers,
same.
right?
Yep.
So I'm like, oh my God,
sellouts and posers.
Whereas now I'd be like, get fucking bent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. Yeah. Never ask me.
Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to
Nobody
me.
gave you permission to talk to me.
Yeah.
Well, I think the main thing that I've learned in growing older is that like you're allowed to like things that your partner doesn't like and vice versa.
Yeah.
Like it's not important. There was a younger part of me that definitely thought I have to like everything that they like, otherwise they're not going to like me.
That's right.
Yes.
And the dependency of them liking you is on you sharing the same interests.
Right.
Absolutely.
Now I'm like, oh, you want to watch a soccer game? I'll be in the other room reading a book. It's fine. I'm totally cool that this is your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be my thing, and that's fine.
Learning that you don't have to share 100% of the same interests or all your time, you know, having your own separate interests and your own separate plans, I think is a big part of like, you don't have to do, once you're a couple, it's not everything.
Right.
You still are an I, and learning that is really important.
Also, it doesn't say anything about the other person's interests if they're not your interests. Like, I'm not belittling anybody else's, like, what they like to do or find interesting, because
you're not anti-soccer.
Right. Whereas, like, I feel like when I was younger, that's what I felt like I was saying. If I wasn't like, I'm going to devote all this time to learning about the thing that you love, I'm saying that I don't value it. And it's not that I don't value it.
It felt like that. If you had an interest that someone else wasn't interested in when you were younger, it felt like a personal attack. You know what I mean? Whereas now I'm
sometimes it is. What is it? Because I'm like, there are pieces of media. There are probably pieces of media that are deal breakers. Like, if you were with somebody who hated Sandman, Christina, would you be able to be in that relationship? Like, hated it.
That is very interesting. Like, hated it?
Yeah, because it's a near and dear property to you, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel that same way about Chris and Dune. Like, he loves that book. I've never read it. I've never read Dune, and he's fine that I've never read it. He reads it every year. It's his like favorite property of like media, and he absolutely loves it. I don't have to read it to know that he enjoys it. In fact, I've gotten him things involved with like Dune.
Right.
Like, I've gotten special edition Dune books for him, things like that. I'm like, I know he'll love. It doesn't mean I have to like it too. It doesn't mean I have to be. That's the thing. It's the investment level too that you were saying. Like, I have to learn everything about it. you can enjoy soccer. We love going to soccer games live.
I do. Yeah.
But I don't want to watch it on TV.
100%. Yeah. I will go to an LAFC game. Definitely. I'll wear the merch even. Like, I have no problem with any of that.
Not going to scream at the TV though.
I don't care that he spends tons of time, absorbed in it at all. But it's not, I know for me, I'm bored watching it on TV. So why am I going to sit in here and do that when time is precious and I could go read a book or watch a show I want to watch or go somewhere, or
as long as he doesn't like belittle it or what have you. Like I don't need him to love it or what have you. Sure. Like we own all the copies. He could have picked it up if he was interested in it, and he doesn't, and that's fine. But he also, he didn't stop me from watching it. Yeah, like when it came out.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm asking is like, there are some people who feel very strongly anti something. And I do feel like there are some things, and it can seem silly, but there are like some properties or interests that you have that actually mean a lot to you. And like, if somebody is like being really dismissive of it, it would bother me.
Sure. I think too that there's a line too between values, because we definitely have an acquaintance that is...
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
With somebody that maybe doesn't share the same values. I think that is where I would draw the line. We we don't share like the whole like, I don't want to say like the political thing, but it is part of it. Like, if you're with
your worldview is vastly different, it's not going to work. I think I said that on the first episode of this podcast, that was my deal breaker, is just like, if you have different worldviews entirely, it's not something that you can move past. You can have different interests.
Even, mild interest level. My deal breaker when we first started this podcast was Michigan fans. Yeah. Because I truly am, it would be a real house divided. It would be very difficult for me to like be with somebody who like, it's just, I know it sounds, it's entirely stupid. And I don't even hate people who are from Michigan. Like, I don't have that.
I don't know that it's stupid. I think that's the question I was asking. I don't think it's stupid because it's like,
but it would be hard for me
because here's the thing. There's a difference between a person who was born in Michigan and is a Michigan fan because of that, and a person who is a Michigan fan the way you are
an Ohio State fan.
Whereas like that would be where the divide would be. I don't know that you would necessarily couldn't get past somebody who was just like, I'm from Michigan. Yeah. This is my team. You would not be able to deal with somebody who was as passionate about Michigan as you are, because it would devolve.
We would literally end up fighting each other. Yeah, at least 3 months, 4 months out of the year.
You would end up fighting each other. Like you can't do. I don't want that kind of stress. My home is my safe place.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah. I know, and it is silly. Like it is silly. But it is
something you care about.
Yeah, it is something I'm like super into.
Yeah, I guess. If Eric was like, I think that the whole like story is stupid. Right. And I hate it. And he was like shitting on it or whatever. I would be really, because it is, I kind of feel the same way. So I guess I can understand it, because I'm super passionate about it.
Because there are things that I passionately dislike, right? Like there are things that I really dislike. They're not political. It's just stuff that I'm like, I really don't like that. And if I was on a date with somebody who's like, this is my favorite thing of all time.
What is it? Tell me.
The only thing that's popping into my mind is probably because I just read it this year, but like Catcher in the Rye.
You'd be like, absolutely.
And Anthony likes that book.
That would be a red flag. Yeah.
Right. Anthony likes that book.
But he doesn't love it. Best thing he's ever read.
He isn't going to fight me about it. whereas some people will get into that like, actually, I'm going to fight you about why this is great. Where... I'm not saying I couldn't date, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, for example, for you, Christina, if like you were with somebody who was like, I fucking hate Neil Gaiman, I fucking hate Sandman. Here are all the reasons why I will not watch it.
That would be rough.
Right?
I think it's become, there are things that I think there are activities or things that you love so much that they are part of your personality,
right?
Where like I would take it as because it is part of who I am. I grew up with it and I love it so much that I'm like, you don't like this, then there's probably stuff you won't like about me.
Here's the thing.
Right.
Okay, so for me,
it's so telling about who I am.
Yeah. So for me, and look, we can have a separate conversation about the author who shall not be named. But like, Harry Potter was a big deal for me growing up. And so I do think that it was a big part of like something that I loved. That was a big part of my formative years and growing up. And if I was with somebody who's like, all of that's really fucking stupid, and it's stupid that people who like it are stupid, you know, like all of that stuff, I couldn't be with somebody who was vocally that like...
I think mine's Anna Green Gables.
Yeah.
You know, it's something I grew up with. Like, Chris doesn't want to watch it. Definitely doesn't want to watch it nearly as much as me, but I don't want to read Dune every year, and he doesn't want to watch Anna Green Gables every year.
That's totally fine.
And that's totally, absolutely fine. And I'm fine doing those things by myself, but it's not...
a respect thing.
He doesn't disrespect the thing I like.
It's a respect thing. Absolutely. I feel the same way. You know, our friend Kelly from Boobies and Newbies made a post about this on TikTok, and I feel the same way about zodiacs. I actually do. I feel the same way about astrology, where I'm just like, you don't even have to believe in it. You don't even have to like it. But if you get aggressively anti,
exactly,
it just says something to me about like, if I express an interest in something and you get aggressively like, that's stupid with me about it. It's not even that you don't share the interest. It's that you're being disrespectful of something that you know that I like or think is cool or fucking whatever. You know?
And the thing of it is like, it's not like you practice it like a fucking religion. You just enjoy it. Quit yucking my fucking yum, dude.
There you go.
Why does it matter to you that I am an Aries with a Gemini rising or whatever? Like, why do you give a shit? And if you don't like it, nobody's forcing you to be involved in it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's icky.
It is.
I cannot pass up saying Boobies and Newbies without announcing how fucking excited we are right now, because Kelly from Boobies and Newbies is bringing her tuchus all the way down from Portland, Oregon to be our opener for our show at the Dynasty Typewriter. I'm beside myself.
I mean, we're absolutely stoked. Love her. I was excited just to see her, period, because I know she was intending on coming to the show, you know, and we haven't seen her in a while because she did move to Portland.
Yeah, as soon as I saw her post about that, it was like it just clicked to like we had to ask her to open.
Yeah, I mean, and she's so. If you've never listened to her show, Boobies and Newbies, by the way, we are going to be on it. I think in November. Yeah. Again, we've already been on it twice. It's
I'm
so
looking
much fun.
forward to this spicy fucking book.
She gave us a real kinky book to read. She did literally, kink is in the name of the book.
Yes.
So what Kelly does is she brings on guests and we all read the same romance or erotica novel and then we discuss it. And so I'm really excited to do this one. This is unlike any of the ones that we've done previously. I'm really excited. But she has actually really made a space for herself within the romance community. And so I can't wait to see what she comes up with for...
And no big deal, writing her own book, which hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be releasing about the same time as our live show in October, which will be even more thrilling.
I can't wait to buy one.
Oh my God. I'm hoping she has some available at the show. That would be incredible.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, or so if that sounds like fun to you, if you want to like see Kelly, see us, we are going to be selling merch and all kinds of things at the show. Please purchase your tickets on myristate.com on our events page. There's actually a banner that you can click on right from our homepage to buy tickets. If you're not local to LA and you can't make it in person, there is a live stream link. So feel free. We would love to see you. It's going to be so much fun.
Yes. Yes. So, okay. FMK time. Who are we going to FMK this week?
I have a suggestion.
Okay.
Why don't we FMK our red flag books?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because yours is Catcher in the Rye.
So there, I actually have thought about this. There are a few that would be, and it's not that I don't enjoy them. I mean, I didn't enjoy Catcher in the Rye. But I
have got one.
I was okay with American.
I already know what yours is.
With the book American Psycho. But if somebody told me it was their favorite book on a date,
American Psycho,
it would be a red flag. And it's not a bad book. It's just that if you're telling me of all the pieces of literature that exist, this is your favorite, I'm concerned. And then the other one that I can think of would be Wasp Factory. I don't know if you've ever read Wasp Factory.
You just read that this year, didn't you?
No, I read half of it a few years ago because it got too intense for me. And then I was like, I just feel like, again, it's not that it's not an interesting piece of literature. It's just that if you tell me that this book about like an adolescent serial killer is fucking your favorite book of all time,
yeah,
I'm nervous.
It's nervous. Yeah. The one that immediately came to mind for me that was a super, super red flag in my early 20s, a book, Stranger in a Strange Land, was very,
I love that
very big.
That's on
for
my
some
to-read
very
book.
problematic people who were interpreting it in a way to abuse women.
I love that book, and that's so hard for me because that was a book I was really passionately loved before I even met anybody from this group of people.
But that group of people definitely interpreted it as a way to gaslight and abuse women. So Stranger in a Strange Land is my red flag book.
It's on my TBR this year, Stranger in a Strange Land. I've wanted to read it. I borrowed it, so I'm going to read it, and I'm interested to read it with that in mind. I
would say Atlas Shrugged would be another one.
Literally knew that that's what I was going to say. I thought that's exactly where you were going to go. I knew it would be like grand.
Yeah, no, but also, I'm sticking with Stranger in a Strange Land.
Okay,
yeah, just that one. Listen, I've read the book. I really liked it. I don't like the way that a lot of people interpret the
Can you elaborate? Because I haven't read it, and I think maybe some of our listeners haven't read it either. Can you interpret what was taken or extrapolated from it that was used that way?
It was the story of a man that basically like came back to Earth from Mars. He's like a Martian. He's a stranger in a strange land, and it's kind of like a Jesus
Valentine
parable.
Michael Smith.
Yes, who basically starts like a cult of people who's like their main thing was like, you are allowed to like be sexually free with anybody within the.
And it's so funny because I took almost none of that from that book. You know what I mean? Like that's not how I had it interpreted at all. It was definitely, I thought of it more as a free mind and a free think and a free.
Yeah, but
they were
in
like
the wrong hands,
jealousy is beneath
in the wrong hands.
You,
books
and
like that can get
be able to sleep. And like he had a harem of women and stuff. So yeah.
All right. I see. And I am going to read it. I am going to read it with a, open mind, because I do want to draw my own conclusions, but also
yeah, I mean, you can see how it could be taken.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like Helter Skelter, right? Like, like that song wasn't meant and wasn't, I mean, hard to say that's an influence on Manson, but I mean,
Yeah. In the wrong hands.
In the wrong hands.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what you think after you read it.
All right, I'm excited. I'm going to do Catcher in the Rye. Again, I know this is a love or hate situation. Some people really love this book, and I want this whole section to be like, if this is your favorite book of all time, that's totally fine. For me, I hated this book. I thought that this kid, I didn't like his voice. I didn't like how entitled he was. I found it very repetitive and whiny and very like I am a entitled person who isn't getting what I want and I'm acting out. And it's
very whiny.
It is. And it's, he's not a good person. And so when I hear people, I was expecting something different because there are so many men, especially who like for them, Holden Caulfield is like
almost a god level.
Yeah. Like they admire this character so much that I'm like, that's why it would be a red flag for me. Like because I'm like, do you like this? You have to explain to me.
I felt that way when I was unpacking some like Eric's books. He's got a lot of Chuck Palahniuk, and I was like,
that's what I mean about it.
Yeah, Chris actually read a lot of his stuff too. I think that's the thing. Is it a Bible for you, or is it a book that you've read and enjoyed?
Correct.
Whatever. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I feel that way. I'm not going to lie. And this is going to trigger you, Christina. Sound and the Fury. I fucking hated
Faulkner.
Yeah. William Faulkner for me is one of those things. It's like, to me, people who say like, I like that are people who are like, I'm smarter than you, and I'm so pretentious. And let me tell you that my favorite book is William Faulkner. You're just like, is it really?
It is. I love. Well, not Sound and Fury, but I love
As I Lay Dying,
which is a different book, which I always confuse. But The Sound and the Fury made me The Sound and Furious because I was so annoyed. His writing style is all over the fucking place. Like and I don't hate the idea of jumping from character to character. I actually like that a lot in a lot of books, but it's so pretentious.
I hear you. I hear you. I feel like a lot of books at that time period, especially male authors, it can get like that. I love that we've chosen 3 male authors.
Yeah.
For me,
what was that or The Great Gatsby for me? Those were like the 2.
I love The Great Gatsby. You really do.
I do
red
too.
Flag.
No. Yeah. I do think F. Scott Fitzgerald is a red flag, but I love that book. Though.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Zelda probably wrote it.
I was just going to say, we like it so much because Zelda wrote it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I know what I'm going to do.
You go first. Go first.
Well, I'm going to marry Sound and Fury. I really am. Yeah. I do. I love Faulkner. I love his symbolism. I love his voice. So for me, that's kind of a no-brainer, especially considering the other 2 options.
Truly, we got some bad options here.
Yeah. I love that Southern style. I love his imagination and his ability to put himself in multiple different characters' shoes. I think shows an empathy and an ability to understand and be able to write in a lot of different voices. So marrying him, I am going to fuck Stranger in a Strange Land because, hey, you know, it sounds like it could get freaky.
Yeah, exactly. You're here.
If nothing else.
We all know that you like to fuck aliens too. Yes, we've had this conversation many times. So I hear you on that.
Yeah. And then I gotta kill Catcher in the Rye because I completely agree with you. I think Holden Caulfield is just an awful narrator and person to follow around for a book.
You know, and I am very curious because I would love to read more J.D. Salinger to see if, like, is this a consistent thing or is it like because he was writing in the narrative of like a 15-year-old boy?
Isn't it the only book he ever wrote?
No, he wrote like Frankie and Zoe there's a couple. Yeah, he's got 9 Lives, I think is one.
Who am I thinking of that only wrote the one?
But I heard Salinger, anyway, that we're getting off the rails. I heard he's kind of a problematic piece of shit anyway. But I think I am going...
This is really fucking hard.
It's hard. I think I'm going to do the same, to be honest. Like, I get what you're saying, Cass, about Sound and the Fury and Faulkner and everything. But there's part of me that's just like... look, he's going to be mansplaining. Mm-hmm. Your house is going to have a lot of leather in it. I feel like it's going to smell a little bit like tobacco.
That I'm fine with, actually.
But
all the things you just said, I'm actually fine with. I can't deal with somebody who is so pretentious.
It's a pretty masculine intellectual energy that I don't know if long term is going to work for me. But of the options, I feel like that marriage for a little while at least could be like... It could make me feel some kind of way. Like I could feel, it's kind of the same way that I'm sure people feel when they say that that's their favorite book. Like you're like, I feel fancy, you know? So I'm going to marry that. I'm going to do exactly what Christina did. I'm going to fuck Stranger in a Strange Land. It seems like it could get...
It's got a real commune energy to it.
Right. It's so... Maybe not the best idea for me personally because the way I would be susceptible to joining a cult.
I mean, the message, it's got a really, really good message about, you know, rising above like the constraints and the petty shit that society puts on you and everything. But
why does that always involve a man having a shit ton of wives?
Yeah,
why? Like, why? I'm like, why is it always like free your mind always ends up I get to have sex with women?
Yep,
like,
exactly.
What the fuck? Why? Like, anyway.
It's so weird. It landed so differently with me, but it's
in
the same way that I guess Faulkner lands so differently for you.
Well, that's books. Books are totally, that's why I say this going into this. If any of these are your favorite books, like books are subjective completely. Right. Like art is subjective. Something you love, I might not love. I love Andrew Garfield and he loves Catcher in the Rye. It's all right. We don't have to.
Changes how I look at him.
Not gonna lie.
But so I'm gonna do that, and then I maybe it's just because it's so fucking fresh for me that like Catcher in the Rye, there are aspects of it that I understand why people thought this was like a groundbreaking book. I get why if you read it when you were a teenager, how it might speak to you, because when you're a teenager, you're dealing with so much like weird shit. So I understand why people like it. It just really wasn't for me. And if I met a Holden Caulfield in real life that was age appropriate, it would be a hard pass.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've never read Catcher in the Rye.
It's okay.
I've avoided it like the plague, to be honest with you. And I think it has a lot to do with the John Lennon of it all.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because I was a big John Lennon fan when I was young, which is also problematic.
Sure,
but that book was so tainted for me at such an early age that I was like, absolutely not. I might kill somebody if I read it.
Well, that's how, I mean, that's kind of how it ends up coloring how you picture Holden Caulfield fans.
That's how I picked it up or read it, was because learning about that. And I was like, I have to know, like,
you're like, I have
why?
To know what inspired this nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
Thanks, I hate it.
I am torn. I'm really torn because I feel like for me, there's a reason I haven't. And so for me, that's the easy kill. Like there's a reason I've avoided it. It's clearly awful. And I'll stand by that.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you're not going to get a challenge at this table. Somebody might send us a strongly worded email, and
that's fine. Like you said, everybody's entitled to their wrong opinions. And,
oh no!
I'm just kidding.
Oh no! What did we do?
What have we done?
No, it's really hard because I don't know. Like The Sound and Fury for me was just such a hard pass. Like I wanted to like it because I'd had a lot of friends who were like Faulkner fans, and I think I am just gonna fuck it and move on. And to me, Stranger in Strangeland actually was just, like I said, it was a book that I read and interpreted in a very different way. Mm-hmm. And then when I met the people you're talking about in this theater group and even my husband and all these people, I'm like, who had read it and maybe had it interpreted to them in a different way. It's the Bible, right? It's the Bible in that way. It's, books are books. It's an interpretation of the book and how that is taught to you, which is very different, which is why it's sometimes difficult to read books in school, like for a class, because, you may have, I feel like sometimes reading a book for a class, you lose the interpretation of how you really feel about it when somebody tells you how to feel about it.
Right.
And I think that maybe that's why I love Stranger in Strangeland so much, is because I took it in a really different way. But I've also read other books of his, and I like his voice, and I really like his writing style.
Heinlein has a specific
I think that's totally okay.
Yeah.
I've read some weird books this year.
Yeah, and he's weird.
That I know other people won't like. Yeah. And so I don't necessarily recommend them to people, but I'm just there's something about this book that I liked. Mm-hmm. But I could also see some of the books that I said I liked this year, that if I told somebody I liked them, they'd be like, oh, red flag, like, oh my God, no, because they read it and took something different from it. Books are like that.
Yeah.
That's what's so interesting about them. So I hope we didn't offend anybody too terribly with this whole section. It wasn't meant to be. We do have some new patrons that I want to give shout outs to this week. I want to shout out Ashley Duke. Welcome to our Patreon family. Whoop. And also Marissa Rossi. Welcome to our Patreon family. We are so excited to have you.
Yay! Well, you guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with stories?
Sounds good.
And we're back. Okay, see, it's your turn. Kick us off with stories.
All right. I got a date from a guy here. He says, it was the last semester of my sophomore year of college, and it was miserable, by far the worst of my college career. I'd started college as an engineering major and had switched into vocal performance, specifically opera, the second semester of my freshman year, and as such, I was pretty much behind on every way that matters. I was a semester behind all of my peers. I had thus taken on a heavier than usual course load this semester in an effort to catch up, in addition to a work-study job I had been encouraged to take on by my dad. I worked endlessly, slept rarely, and my health and grades suffered. At the end of each semester, music performance majors have what is called a jury, which is a judged performance worth half your final grade. You prepare.
No pressure.
I really wish they wouldn't do that. That feels so unfair. Like you work all year and then you're like, if you fuck this up,
good luck.
Bye.
Good luck. You prepare 5 songs to perform. When you step on stage, you get to choose your first and the faculty chooses the second. I was poorly prepared.
Oh, no.
And was looking forward to playing jury roulette. Most of my songs I knew reasonably well, but 2 of them were weak. A German song, Der Lindenbaum by Schubert in particular, was simply not sticking in my brain, and I was despairing. A little more than a week earlier, I'd gone out with a woman I met on MySpace.
Oh, no.
All right.
Yes, this was that long ago. And no, I don't remember exactly how we got in touch. I just know that's where she came from.
Dude, how many MySpace relationships did you have like that? Where you're like, I did not know this person.
You a friend of a friend of a friend?
Exactly. But why am I friends with somebody?
Did we meet on the bulletin board? Like, how did we meet?
No idea.
I don't know.
I thought
bulletin board.
You remember there used to be those posts that were like, I don't think it was called a bulletin board, but there was like.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom, wherever you are, you're still my friend. You're still my number one.
Pour one out.
Yeah, that's right. I thought the date had gone fairly well, though to be clear, you could count the number of dates I'd been on at this point on one hand. So on this night before my jury, she calls me up and asks if I want to get together.
No, Connie.
You should not.
The
answer should be no.
You're on vocal rest, my friend.
I tell her I'm flat out trying to memorize my last song and I can't. She offers to help me memorize.
No.
So I say sure.
No, it always sounds like a good idea. You're not going to work.
Oh, just wait.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
She comes by about half an hour later. I sign her in at the front desk and bring her up to my dorm. Thankfully a single. She then introduces her plan. We would play strip memorization.
Stop it.
Oh,
That's
no.
the worst idea I've ever heard. She is sabotaging the fuck out of this man.
She in your class.
Yeah. Every time I successfully memorize a verse, she'll remove an article of clothing. Well, it worked brilliantly. Within 2 hours, I had the song down pat, and it would remain one of my strongest performance pieces for the remainder of my college career.
Amazing.
Shocked. I am truly, I guess, I guess she had the right idea. Like, wow.
So at this point, we started making out. I was sucking her breasts and ears, and she was getting incredibly turned on in a way even I could recognize.
At the same time.
Both, yeah, just one big.
Suddenly, she stopped. All right. Either we're together or we're not. And I need you to either commit to me absolutely right now or we're over.
That's so manipulative, is it not?
It's not a good play, but
to wait until somebody is like on the verge,
and
then be like, commit to me or not, or
we're a nipple ear action. I thought we were past this.
You're like, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, definitely.
I was dumbstruck. My impression was that she really wanted to have sex, but I guess she didn't want to have sex outside of a committed relationship. At least that's the best explanation I've been able to come up with. I barely knew this woman. How was I supposed to know if I wanted to be in a relationship with her? I didn't want to lie to her just to have sex. So after a couple of minutes of thinking, I replied, well, I guess we have to be over.
Well, that's actually really mature and fair.
Yeah.
She took that poorly.
Wow.
In an instant, her face transformed from an expression of
don't be on the jury.
Eager horniness to one of utter rage. I thought you were different, but no, you're just like the others.
What does that mean? That's so unfair.
But it's unfair. If you were you should have had this conversation before making out, or or set your expectations earlier.
If you're gonna go over and you're going to suggest we do strip studying and then make out and all of that stuff, and then be like,
it's entrapment in a way. Entrapment, like legally, like
you're like, you can't. That doesn't hold up in court, ma'am.
This is it's a culture in which people hook up all the time.
Yeah,
why would he assume that a hookup meant that I needed to commit to a relationship unless you said it beforehand?
Yeah,
and honestly, good for him for like
being honest. I feel like most guys would be like, yeah, sure.
A minute.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold up in court.
Doesn't.
That's hilarious. I'm sorry, that's entrapment. Okay. So she burst into tears and started sobbing loudly and relentlessly into her balled up shirt. I had no idea what to do. I just kind of sat there and tried to say comforting things, none of which had any effect.
Naked crying
in a stranger's dorm room.
It's so sad. Just like topless crying.
Oh my God. Have you ever gotten into a fight with a partner when you're naked?
No.
I think I have.
I have.
No. I have a strict clothes on at almost all times policy. So.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, Keegan's the naked neighbor.
I don't. So I definitely
have had crying, screaming fights.
No, but I do try to.
I
do if I know the conversation is going that direction and I am
try
naked.
To throw a shirt on real quick.
Try to throw a shirt on.
You're
real
not
quick.
in your power if you're like titties out, trying to like come from a place of like empowerment.
Your thighs are all just like loose on the bedspread. No. We gotta wrap this up real quick.
Yeah.
For the next hour, she berates me in every way she could think of. I'm a terrible person. I would never be happy. How could I do this to her?
Jesus Christ.
Eventually, I coaxed her into putting her clothes back on, and around 20 minutes after that, escorted her downstairs, checked her out of the front desk, called her a taxi, and gave him $20. As she stepped into the cab, she turned to me with a pitying stare, said a final, "You're never going to be happy," and drove off. And I never saw her again.
What in the curse of Grayskull is happening?
Truly, that feels like a genuine curse. She a pox upon your house. Wow.
Honestly, I returned,
and I never was happy. The end.
Yeah, she was right.
I remain eternally grateful for her help in memorizing Der Lindenbaum, and it is the only German song I still remember. If you ever have the opportunity to employ it, combining sex with memorization is apparently gold. However, I'm pretty sure I dodged a bullet that night.
Oh my God.
Man.
That's amazing.
Der Lindenbaum, I guess.
Oh my God.
Honey.
Oh no. Okay. Well, our story came from our inbox and it starts out, "Hey ladies, firstly, I love your podcast. It keeps me company on my 1.5 hour commute to and from work. I stumbled across YAMF, which is Keegan's other podcast in which she mentioned My Worst Date. And I thought I'd give it a listen too. And I've binged it. You guys are hilarious." Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this story is not so much of a first date, but a first meeting organized through Tinder. So I feel like it counts.
Definitely.
The actual meeting itself was strange, don't get me wrong, but what came after was even weirder.
Oh, no.
This was back when I was at uni around 2017, and I was about 20 at the time. I was on a night out on campus, and despite me being an absolute catch and incredibly humble, of course.
I love that energy.
Cassie, did you write this in?
Right. No, this feels like Leo energy.
Yeah.
That's Leo writing.
Yeah,
love it.
Yes, we need to know. I always struggled to pull on nights out. British word for hooking up on a night out.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. Pull on a night out. Yeah. It's not like I'd always go out to pull. I love to go out for the dancing, being with friends, and generally just having a good time. But you know, a gal's got needs, and sometimes you just want to have some attention. And since I wasn't going to, I pulled up my Tinder chats and messaged this guy that I had been previously messaging before. So basically, she's like, "I haven't been getting lucky.
Yeah.
So let's spice up the bag.
I love it.
Love it.
We hadn't messaged loads and there was no indication of a relationship intention. So I thought, great, this is a perfect guy to just have a one night hookup with and satisfy my desire. I asked if he was free tonight and he said, sure, come over. Not my smartest move, of course, but he was also a student at the same uni, and one of my friends knew his friend, so I didn't mind going to his house the first time meeting him. That's some college 20-year-old
logic. Yeah. Like I definitely
logic.
Truly, I mean, like I would have made the same kind of assessment. I'm like, well, because
my people know his people.
My people know his people. You knock off like a danger point for all of those things. It's just like, oh, we have acquaintances in common. Oh, we go to the same college.
Oh, it's after midnight and I'm horny.
Right.
That takes off too.
Yeah, you're like,
I've been there.
I was drunk, and if I'm being honest, on something a little stronger than alcohol and as well. And it was years ago, so I don't remember exactly what happened when I initially arrived, but pretty sure it was just some small talk for around 5 to 10 minutes before we got down to what we both knew I was there for.
Yep. Hey.
We were kissing for a little bit and both remained dressed for whilst I gave him a hand job.
Oh, no. A fully clothed hand job.
Dude, I don't know what it is. I gotta say, like, I would rather give a blowjob than a hand job.
I know you would. We've had this conversation.
Not hand jobs. Like it just make me. It just feels.
It's sad.
It feels sad. It feels sad.
It's so much sadder when you have to like spit in your hand. Oh, you're like,
absolutely not. You better have a little pre-cum because mom ain't spitting on her hand. That's why it's a combo handy blowy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The combo is where it's at.
The mouth can't do all the work. It's exhausting. It's hard.
My favorite Sex in the City line. They don't call it a job for nothing. It's very much a job.
Tiring.
Well, he climaxed, and then his phone rang. So she's giving a hand. He like fucking comes and like, bring.
Comes all over his jeans because his pants are still on. Because he's still dressed.
Yes. Obviously, this was a great time to take a phone call. So he took the phone call and left me in his room.
He like zips up real quick, wipes his hands off. Oh my God, no.
So it's the middle of the night and I'm sat in pretty much a stranger's room on my own, feeling awkward as hell. He's on the phone for like 20 minutes. And when he comes back, he's like, oh, I'm sorry. My friend has an emergency.
Oh my guy.
He did not.
I've got to go. I hope that's okay with you. Seeing as I was sat there for so long in such an awkward situation, any desire for me to get off by this guy was completely disappeared. So I didn't mind at all and was actually relieved to have the excuse to get the hell out of there. I got home and of course thought this was the end of that. Little did I know that this guy would end up texting me at weird time for weeks after. One time I even woke up with 4 missed calls from him at like 4 a.m.
Bro, you can give yourself a sad hand job.
Yeah,
okay?
Right.
Like honestly, she got nothing from this exchange.
No. And he barely got anything from it. Does she just have like the softest hands of all time?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Fucking
He's like, you use lotion, don't you?
It's like
Jergens.
kid glove hands. You know, they're like,
oh no. I thought it was so strange as he was the one who didn't seem that interested and I was literally just a hand job. This kept on going for ages. Every time I thought the contact had finally stopped, he would send me a text at a weird time, or again, I would have a missed call from him at a weird time. It got to the point where I asked my friend to text him and say that we were dating and he needs to leave me alone. That worked for a while, and finally I thought I was free of this man. The last time I heard from him was a year after the night we, quote, hooked up. A year. Like,
wow.
Mate, do you not think that ship has sailed by now?
Oh my God.
I need to know, what are her hand job skills? Like, what was she pulling out? Some tricks?
I got a text a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no.
From somebody who was one of my first dates. So this would have been like, what, like 4.5 years ago?
Holy shit.
Hey, how's it going?
No.
This is blank, which I'm glad he said something because he was not
Obviously.
in my phone. He's like, we were, what did he say? You were one of my first dates when I moved here to LA. Just wanted to see how you were doing. And I'm like, 4.5
Listen,
years.
In fairness, I will say, do the pandemic years count? Because he was probably in a dark hole of like nothing.
He was
for
like,
a
this
while.
was just last year, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't even get a soft hand job.
He got a rough one. He can't get you out of his mind.
I guess
God.
like 4.5 years. I'm like, and I cannot for the life of me picture who this person is. It's so, yeah,
she says,
I don't know.
She does say the only explanation I can think of is it's the best hand job he's ever received.
Like, what lotion do you use?
Yeah, I know. Share the gifts.
Share the hand cream.
What's the technique? Do you have like a special thumb trick?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give a warning at the top of this one that it's funny. It starts out funny. It gets
takes a turn.
It gets weird at the end. Okay. I have to go way back to the 80s when I was in high school. A boy who I will call Marty picked me up in his sports car, a black Mazda RX-7 that rode low to the ground.
Some sugar on me.
That's when the doors open. Cloud of smoke rolls out.
I was all dressed up and ready to go with my tight designer jeans, high-heeled shoes, and blown out, feathered back, big brown hair.
Yeah,
I tried to look my best with full makeup, including high gloss and electric blue eyeliner.
Yes. Oh, I can smell the Aquanet.
Yeah. Oh, God. To be honest, I really wasn't into Marty. He was always trying to impress me, and I thought he looked like an idiot most of the time. However, every so often, he would let his guard down and say something vulnerable. That small glimmer of hope would keep me from shutting him down permanently.
Yeah. They know.
Bare minimum.
Bare minimum. Yep.
So when he asked me out for pizza and a movie one day, I said, okay. That night, I ran to open the door when I heard the bell ring. I knew just by looking at his beaming face, the perfectly placed wing back hair, his designer jeans and purple polo shirt that I had made a big mistake.
Oh, no.
I felt absolutely nothing for this guy, except maybe a little pity. As I followed Marty to his car, choking on the fumes of his polo cologne.
Oh, no. That was Dracar Noir back in my day.
My mind was racing with ways I could politely cut this little date short. Remember, those were the days before cell phones, so we had to be far more creative. By the way, back then, every guy I knew had that signature green bottle of crappy cologne in his dresser.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Marty opened the passenger door to let me in, then sauntered over to his side with his chest puffed out. As soon as he turned the key to start the ignition, Madonna began to blast out singing Holiday as Marty hit
Nice.
As Marty hit the gas and spun out of my driveway. He sang along at the top of his lungs.
Yeah.
I tried not to look. When we finally arrived at the restaurant, Marty opened his door, then bent down to grab something stashed under his seat. I was surprised when he turned his back facing me and as quickly as possible jammed the thing right down the front of his pants.
Oh. What?
In a panic, I screamed, "Marty, what the fuck are you doing? Do you have itchy balls or something?" He said, "No, Rena. This is so I can protect you when we are out on our date."
Oh, no.
What?
Did he shove a fucking gun down his back?
Protect me? Protect me from what? What kind of protection? I asked as I took a few steps back. Marty said, "Don't be scared. You know I'm a black belt, right?"
Oh my God. I'll tell you, this also does not hold up in court.
No, it does not. And that's not a gun. That's nunchucks. Please be nunchucks.
As he tried to smoothly pull the sticks, which I then realized were a set of nunchucks, out of his pant leg. No. Unfortunately, they got stuck by the chain on the way out, ripping his underwear. Then, to top it all off, he started
nunchucks in your pants. Are you just happy to see me?
Then he started doing some Jewish boy's version of Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. By the way, I'm Jewish too.
Oh my
If
God.
I didn't feel so badly for all the injuries he was giving himself each time the stick flew and smacked him right on the back. He was hitting himself in the back with a nunchuck.
Why do you not get enough nunchuck stories? I'm so happy right now.
Along with the red color of his face had turned from all the exertion and self-abuse.
Oh, honey.
I would probably have pissed myself laughing so hard. However, I consider myself a lady. So after I shut my gaping mouth, I thanked him for being so prepared.
Oh my God.
but suggested he leave the nunchucks behind, as having them hidden down his pants would have made sitting down damn near impossible. Thankfully, he agreed. Fast forward, we ate some pizza. I smiled and pretended to be interested in whatever he said.
Oh my
We
God.
saw some movie I don't remember, and no, I would not let him hold my hand. We left the movie theater and headed back to Marty's car. I was so tired of pretending to be nice and yet not give him any ideas that I was romantically interested that I told Marty I really had to get back home because I had a big test to study for over the weekend and I couldn't stay out late. Parents' orders. So off we went, heading back to my house. At the time, we lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Although close to the city, there were plenty of trees and back roads, so it was not unusual to see deers crossing the road, which could actually be very dangerous, especially at night when it was hard to see. Michael Jackson was playing in the background, and I was kind of zoning out, looking out the side of the window. All of a sudden, Marty screamed as the car ran over something.
Oh, no.
He slammed on his brakes. I turned to him, heart racing, and screamed, "What the fuck was that?" over and over again. Frankly, I was scared shitless and somewhat hysterical. Marty threw the car into park with the flashers on right in the middle of the road. It was pitch black out, but no other cars were around at the time. He pounded his palms on the steering wheel and said, "Shit, shit, shit, I don't know. Stay here and lock the doors after me."
Take your nunchucks.
Take your nunchucks.
Take your nunchucks, Marty.
He opened the car door, reached under his seat, no stupid nunchucks again. And a flashlight.
You go get him, Marty.
You fucking nunchuck. And walked back behind the car. It's about to be not funny.
No.
Walked back behind the car to see what was what. I remember straining to see out the back window, but all I could tell was that he bent down looking at something. The beam of his flashlight moved up and down as he walked back to the car. I unlocked the door. "Marty, what was that?" I asked loudly. I noticed he was sobbing. What? What happened? I demanded he tell me. He looked over at me, tears silently streaming down his face, and said, "I hit a raccoon, but it's not dead. It's just suffering in the middle of the road." Then without saying another word, he slammed the door shut, threw his car into reverse, and drove over it.
Oh,
me screaming all the way.
Oh my God.
It's horrible. I know. I'm sorry.
What?
I told you the story. But look, I really debated whether or not I wanted to tell the story. But one, nunchucks. Two,
nunchucks.
This is a really bad date.
It's terrible. You don't come back from this.
No.
You don't talk to that person ever again.
No.
This is something you bury deep down and never bring up again.
So he reverses over it. Oh. "Are you nuts?" I said. I mean, that was the second time I felt the car go thump. That was quite enough for me. I screamed, "I can't believe you just did that. Oh my God, can you please take me home already? I think I'm going to be sick." Just ahead, lit by the beams of the car's headlights, was the body of the animal. He runs over it again.
Oh my God.
I didn't utter a sound. In silence, we finally made it back to my house. I said nothing as I got out of his car. I walked to my front door and into the safety of my home without looking back. I heard the door click as I softly shut it closed, and the comforting sound of the bolt lock as I slid it into place.
Yep.
The last sound I heard was Marty's tires as he screeched out of the driveway back out into the night.
Oh my God.
Can you fucking imagine?
No, I can't. That's awful.
I told you it starts out fun and it gets really dark. I'm
Damn.
He's like, "I got this.
No worries."
He just got out of his car.
Like, all right, Knight Rider. Like, what the fuck?
It's seriously though.
Oh my God.
Wow. Well,
wow.
So you guys want to take 5 and come back with your Tainted Love?
Yes.
And we're back.
All right. So it's my turn for the Tainted Love, and I'm not sure if you guys have heard of this case. It was brand new for me too. I actually don't even know where I picked it up. I just had some weird Google searches that my FBI agent's probably going to be questioning.
Our FBI agents are very tired.
Yes.
They're just like, fuck.
They're like, ugh, well, whatever. But I'm going to trigger warning this for domestic violence. This is a rough story, but I think it's very important, and you'll see why at the end, why I wanted to talk about it. So, Gladys Ricart was a beautiful and vibrant young woman who was born in the Dominican Republic in 1960. By 1979, she had a young son. She just wanted better for her life. So she had some family that had already immigrated to America. She decides to immigrate to America as well. So she settles into the Washington Heights neighborhood of Manhattan, where like her sister and her brother had already lived. And she gets to work. She had left her young son in the care of family there, and she was like, I'm going to set up this baller life in America. And her family was like, nobody worked harder than her. Like, she was cleaning houses and going to school full time. She taught herself English. She was described by her family as being the most Americanized of her family too. She ends up taking accounting courses and graduates. So 4 years later, she's graduated from college. She gets this baller job, like working in accounting in Manhattan, and is able to bring her son
that's incredible.
with her. Yeah, she's gorgeous. She's smart. She's somebody that like her nieces like looked up to. She was the cool aunt that would give them advice about boys and everything. So like she was just amazing. So by this point, her son is like living with her. She's got a great job, and she is on the subway in 1992, and she meets Agustin Garcia. He is a prominent figure in the Dominican community. He works for nonprofits. He's a community leader. He's a successful businessman. He's like 8 or 9 years older, but they like click immediately, and they start dating. And he is like taking her to all these like fancy parties and stuff. So he's at a different social level or runs in a different social circle than she does, but she fit right in. They were like dating for a year, and then finally like he moves her in to his house. He had 2 young daughters from a previous relationship, and Gladys is like, this is it.
Yeah.
You know,
I made it.
Marriage, kids. Like, she's going to have the whole 9 yards. Well, the problem is that once they move in together, things aren't going very smoothly. Like, she complained to family that, like, Augustin treated her young son differently. She didn't like how that was happening.
Yeah, we out.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't do that. That's a hard deal breaker right there.
Yeah, that's a fucking maroon flag.
Yeah.
That is so red. It's...
Yeah.
Right.
Bleeding.
And she wasn't somebody that would talk about her personal problems a lot, but the family got the message that he could be very jealous and controlling. And so after 2 years, she actually purchased a house in Richland and moved out. Like, but they continued to date. So, and she still had hopes in that whole like marriage and kids with Augustin. Like maybe she thought she could change him or something, but they continued to date.
Honey.
Even though the relationship was described as volatile by their family. They were
how many
fighting
times have we seen
constantly.
that? We see that so often when we do these tainted loves. Like it's, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, she really saw a future with him, and like family and marriage were top of mind for her. But one night, she went to go meet him at his office, surprise him, and caught him and her best friend on his desk. So they had been dating by this point for almost 6 years.
You know what? I'm always more mad at the friend. Always.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm always just like...
I'm mad at both.
No, I'm mad at him too, but I'm just like, your friend to do that. That's...
And she was
that
like...
shit hurts so much. Like, friend betrayal is so like, oh my God.
Oh, I know. I know. And it's so, yeah, she caught him and her friend on his desk, and she's like, we're done. Wow. They dated from 92 until late in 98. She wasn't having anything to do with him. And he could not accept that. He didn't tell any of his friends and family.
You didn't
they
even
were
want to be
separated.
around. What's the... Why?
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
and you were cheating.
yeah,
so
you clearly, yeah.
Yeah, so she's done. She's over it. She's completely like focusing on her career, and so she goes to have lunch at this local restaurant one day, and I'm like, first of all, like this chick just like has meet cute after meet cute. So she meet cutes this man named Preston, and he like they had both like gone to this local lunch place, and he had written a note like, I think you're really beautiful, like will you allow me to take you out for a date? And it was love at first sight. Aww. So they were just like smitten kitten with each other, and after 2 months together he proposed marriage.
Oh wow.
And Gladys is like, this person, he's a musician, he was opposite of Augustine in that he treated her like a queen. He was good to her son. He was just a nice person. And after spending 6 years with somebody that was so like volatile, controlling and stuff like that, she was like, yeah, she jumped right on it. She's like, yes. And because I've been planning my dream wedding for the past 6 years, we can get married like in 3 months.
I hate, look, he might be really nice. And maybe like they end up 2 months. Oh, God, I'm sweating. No. It's too fast.
It's too fast. Well,
I'm like, believe in love, Keegan.
No, she's got a kid. I'm like, no. 2 months is, and you were just in an abusive relationship for 6 years, honey. You need to like take a breather.
Yeah,
you can't just jump into a marriage.
From all accounts, he was really great, but at the same time, like
that's great, but don't do that.
Being, like stalked and harassed by Augustine Garcia, who drives by her house at all hours of the night, calls her all the time, harasses her mother on the street. No. He left a whole bunch of torn up like white roses on her lawn because in the Dominican culture, it's a symbol for death.
Jesus.
What? The question is always, why would you think that would make her want to get back together with you? In what reality are you like, this'll work?
This'll work.
It's the threat, like you have to or else.
Yeah,
that's it.
And it only drives her like closer, like her and James closer. She at one point, like he is outside of her house while James is over, and he throws a brick through the window, and you can hear she finally calls 911. Like,
a brick through the window is about.
And she says, I've been done with this man for 3 months, which is important. So this is a recorded 911 call. She's like, I've been done with this man for 3 months. He won't leave me alone. He's outside the house. Please come help me. So the police come, they tell him to like go away, but she will not press charges.
What?
A lot of her family say, it's because of his position in the community, and she was just kind of afraid, and she didn't want.
Yeah.
She didn't.
The friction.
Yeah, she didn't. At this point, too, they said she didn't hold animosity towards him. Like, she had moved on, and she just wanted him to as well. So
community ties are real. Yeah. Like, that stuff is really real, too.
He was big.
Yeah, and you don't want to ostracize yourself from the community. Like, I get it.
Yeah. So there was a lot of reasons why she didn't, and I don't shame her for it or anything like that. She didn't press charges. All she asked was that, can you please come keep an eye on my house? That sort of thing. So on September 26, 1999, really, really early in the morning, like 1 a.m., she runs to the grocery store really quick because it is the morning of her wedding. So she wanted to grab a couple of things. And you can actually see like security footage of Garcia meeting her there. And like he has his arm around her like really tight, and they're walking down the aisles. There's no sound, and no witnesses were able to verify what their conversation was about.
Shit.
Where was your maid of honor?
Honestly,
y'all wouldn't have let me run to the grocery store on the morning of my wedding.
No. So later that morning, she's getting ready at her house. Her whole family is there. She looks like a princess. She has this beautiful, it almost looks like her dress was like almost Bridgerton-esque before Bridgerton, and a diamond tiara. Okay. And I mean, she's gorgeous looking.
She's coming.
She's
got
out
that
on
Regency era gown. Beautiful.
A little bit of Renaissance-y kind of vibe. So maybe even earlier than Bridgerton. But she's out on her lawn. Neighbors saw her and said she looked like a princess. She had 9 bridesmaids, 3 flower girls, and there was a white Rolls-Royce limousine parked out.
That's a woman. That's a woman who knew what she wanted you planned all that in 3 months.
3 months. 3 months.
Bitch, Jesus Christ.
And that was going to take her to the church where her fiance James Preston was waiting. They're getting ready. Everything's great, except Augustin Garcia shows up. And his brother puts a hand on him at the door and is like, yo.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
Augustin's
not.
brother.
No, her brother.
Oh, her brother. Okay.
Juan Ricart is like, no. And he's like, but he's calm. He's dressed like in a suit with a briefcase.
You're not invited.
He says he was invited.
No, you weren't.
All he wants to do is congratulate the bride
with a briefcase
on her day.
Also,
give her a wedding present.
Also, I'm sorry. That's my sister, but you also harassed my mom in the street. You can kick fucking rocks. Get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Absolutely not.
No.
So he's able to come in, and the family just thinks it's kind of weird or whatever.
Probably not wanting to make waves.
Exactly. You know, this is Gladys's big day. There's a videographer like taking photos of like, and she starts handing out the bouquets to her bridesmaids. And you can see the moment that she actually notices on the video that Augustin Garcia is there.
Heartbreaking.
And in the next frame, you can see a gun.
Jeez.
He shoots her. 5 shots, 3 were like basically to her head. So she was killed instantly in front of her entire family and wedding party.
That's so sad.
He tries to reload.
For what?
He wanted to kill himself, and the brother tackles him and holds him down until the police come.
Fuck him.
So police come and they're like, what the fuck? They put him in jail, and his bail is set at $5 million, and it's set so high because
doesn't feel like enough.
He's
community ties.
He has community ties, and he's a flight risk. So they're able to keep him in jail. Now, when they go to trial, his defense is that him and Gladys were dating all the way up. He had no idea she was getting married.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't give a fuck if that was true. I don't care. It doesn't make you innocent of going in and murdering somebody. Why is that even a defense?
He says it's a crime of passion, that he lost his mind in that moment because he had no idea that she was getting married, that they were still intimate and still sleeping together.
You lost yourself in that moment, but hold on. You went home, put on a suit, packed a gun in a briefcase, and drove to the church, and then you had enough sense of mind to say you were invited, make up a story, and lie.
Correct.
None of that sounds like a crime of passion in the moment.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Sounds not premeditated.
Sounds a little like you planned it.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what the judge and jury thought. He was convicted.
Thank God.
Of first degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. He tried to claim the crime of passion to get the first degree down to manslaughter. It just didn't work. Shortly after, in a civil trial, he was ordered to pay like $4.5 million to Gladys's family. All of his appeals have been rejected. He is stuck in prison and won't be eligible for parole until 2029.
Jesus.
Now, every September 26th in New York City, the Gladys Ricart and Victims of Domestic Violence Memorial Walk, or as it's most popularly known as Bride's March, is held.
So sad.
The first march took place on September 26, 2001, the second anniversary of Gladys's murder. The idea from the march was originated by Josie Ashton, a young Dominican woman from Florida who was so moved by the murder and outraged at the media and community's insensitive response to Gladys's murder. Josie resigned from her job and sacrificed more than 3 months of her life away from her then young family to walk in a wedding gown through several states down the East Coast, ending in her home state of Florida, all in an attempt to draw attention to the horrors of domestic violence. Several organizations in New York City, including the Dominican Women's Development Center, the Violence Intervention Program, the Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation, the Dominican Women's Caucus, and the National Latino Alliance for the Elimination of Domestic Violence, helped Josie organize the first march, which served as a send-off for her 1,600-mile journey.
Wow.
They organized supporters in the New York metropolitan area, including family and friends of Gladys, to join Josie on the first leg of her walk from Gladys's home in New Jersey to the church in Queens where Gladys was set to be married that September 26, 1999. To date, thousands of women, men, and youth, among them members of the Ricart family and other families affected by domestic violence, along with elected officials, civic leaders, clergy, students, and scores of domestic violence advocates and survivors, gather every September 26th, rain or shine, to memorialize Gladys and the many other victims who have also lost their lives to domestic violence and raise awareness of the horrors.
Wow.
So that is the story of Gladys Ricart.
And
I had
about
never
to cry. That's
heard it before. It's so
moving,
beautiful that they were able to create something like this. And when I went to research her crime, there's not a lot of articles.
I've never heard of it.
There's only one like American Justice documentary about it. There's very, very little about her life, and the fact that they even give credence to anything that fucking monster says, that's a lot of it. They're like, what aboutism? And it's like, it doesn't matter.
I get so frustrated.
She was killed on her wedding day while her videographer's watching her hand out bouquets. It's the most horrendous, tragic. Like, you can see the video has been released publicly. You can see it. It's so tragic.
I don't understand why it doesn't matter. Like, none of it like, who cares if she was still seeing you? Who cares? You still don't get to fucking go
don't get to
kill
murder somebody because you
because your feelings are hurt.
Wow.
Yeah, that defense just like stunned me. And I'm so
garbage.
glad that it was rejected. And like I said, the main reason why I wanted to tell the story is because, we're coming up on the month of September. Yeah. So if people wanted to look into the Brides March, I think it's an incredible thing. I think that what they've done to try to bring awareness to domestic violence issue within the Latino population is huge. And I just want people to go and check out the Brides March website. And I just think that at least something beautiful was able to come of it. But for Gladys, she was flown back to the Dominican Republic with her family, and she was buried in her wedding dress.
Her poor son.
Yeah.
Just devastating. That's truly so tragic.
Imagine James, who's sitting at a church waiting for his bride to show up.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the whole family. I mean, her mom, her siblings, her brother who let him in is probably never going to recover from the guilt of that.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault, of course. Like,
no, because it wouldn't even enter your mind. You see this guy, he looks like a dweeb. He just... You wouldn't think that.
Yeah.
And
the brother probably rationalized that, like, okay, well, he's an asshole, but if he tries anything, like, we're all here.
Exactly.
It will protect, you wouldn't assume that he's going to go in there and shoot her.
Right. Right. So, yeah.
Golly, that's a good one. Yeah. That's so touching.
It's a hard one, but it's just like, I really wanted to tell it just to, like I said, get the word out about the Brides March, and also just as a tribute to somebody that seemed like a really amazing woman that was taken too soon by a piece of shit.
And suffered enough in 6 years from this man. The last thing
well, that's what happens when you got motherfuckers like Andrew Tate out here saying that women are your property.
Exactly.
They belong
and that's
to you.
the reason why the deplatforming those voices and countering those voices, whether it be on TikTok where you're, stitching these guys that like to say that like women are your property or don't let women have a voice. It's important to fucking shame them. If they are not going to be deplatformed by TikTok, let everybody come together and just laugh at their fucking faces.
Make them feel like the idiots that they are. Like, that's just the truth. Like, and it's just...
and you know what? Keep spreading those fucking faces so we all have a very clear image of what your dumbass looks like.
Oh, that's what they're doing. The ladies in Ohio right now with that piece of shit Brock Turner. Because Brock Turner's in Dayton, Ohio, going out to bars and shit.
Fuck this,
and there's a whole bunch of people on TikTok that are like, ladies in Dayton, Ohio, beware, because he's fucking out there. And you should be aware. We'll protect each other. And that, I think, is like the idea too that someone was so like affected by the story that they quit their job.
Wow.
And marched 1,600 miles in a wedding dress to say like, this is not okay, is an incredible act of activism. And I respect it so much.
Me too. Oh, thank you for that.
Wow.
That's great.
You're welcome. So to switch gears, hopefully not too abruptly, what are you guys watching this week?
Well, I did watch the first episode of House of the Dragon.
Ooh. I did too.
Is it good?
I did like it.
Nervous.
They're gonna remind you right away about how brutal Game of Thrones was.
Yeah,
if you
it's a pretty intense.
They don't pull away from that. But I did enjoy it a lot, and dragons. Dragons. But because I'm a fucking masochist, I decided to watch Keep Sweet.
Oof.
And why? Because I know I was living in Utah when the Warren Jeffs manhunt was going down.
Yeah.
So I knew everything. Like everything in it I already knew. And yet I watched it. And I will say I don't regret that I watched it, because even though I know all about the FLDS and all of that stuff already and lived through all of that stuff happening firsthand, I still feel like it was important for these people to be able to tell their specific stories.
Right.
Which was really empowering, I think, to see. And I think it felt like it was empowering for them to be able to actually say exactly what happened to them.
Right.
So I would say if you're interested in learning more about that, or just cults in general, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much cult behavior. Very.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a straight up. Yeah. The FLDS is a straight up cult for sure. Yeah.
Woof. I watched something that if you haven't watched yet, you fucking must. So go immediately, if not sooner, and watch Starstruck. It's on HBO and it's been out. It's like second season.
Things.
It is so
I've heard great things.
Good.
Yeah.
What is it?
Chris and I binged literally the first season last night. It's Starstruck. It's on HBO. It's this girl. She is a Kiwi who lives in England, and she kind of accidents like a New Year's Eve party. Kind of accidentally falls for this guy. And then she wakes up the next morning and is like, oh shit, you're a fucking celebrity. Like, he's like a really famous, like, action star celebrity. And she didn't like know who he was at all. And like the next morning was like, oh fuck.
The premise of it feels very like a show on ABC. Like, it feels very like silly, but I've heard that it is so clever and so smart. Like, and
it's so fucking funny.
Okay, cool.
Oh my god, it is hilarious. Like,
I want to watch
it. I've pause it like a couple times just because we were laughing so fucking hard.
Oh, okay.
It's brilliant. You guys would love it.
I haven't seen a lot of things that I've liked recently. I think the things, two things that really pissed me off that I've seen recently, but there's one, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's about the anarchists that live in or tried to go to Acapulco, Mexico, and they made this.
Yeah, The Anarchists, I think is what it's
The
called.
Anarchists.
Yeah.
It's on HBO. Wild story. I have a lot of thoughts about it. I thought it was an interesting watch. I'd never heard of any of this before, so that was pretty nuts. And then I also saw a documentary about John McAfee.
Oh, see, that's going to piss me the fuck off. I listened to the Behind the Bastards did like a 3-parter on John McAfee, and I listened to that. And I just know that he is that piece of shit. Wow. I cannot, like, he's got to be, his energy is the most like repulsive, toxic, masculine energy.
Gross. Yeah.
Just like shirtless with guns, like fucking Rambo over here. You know,
no, it's really, really gross. So yeah, I haven't watched anything that I've enjoyed. I've kind of rage watched a couple of things. So yeah.
Well, then go home and watch Starstruck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Palate cleanser.
Well, hey, if you guys have stuff that we should watch or read, if you have stories about terrible dates, if you want to pick up tickets to our live show, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstatepodcast.com. And we love you so much.
Cheers.